All right, guys, welcome back.
Welcome
It's
back.
Market Mondays.
TMZ edition.
TMZ edition.
Rashad and Troy, tell me where the market is going by end of year.
They're gonna find you one way or another.
Boy,
That's a fact. Shout out to TMZ. Shout out to TMZ. A lot to talk about in the market and in the world. Yeah, get ready. This is gonna be one of those ones for sure. First
yes,
and foremost, before we start the show, have to send our condolences and prayers to
absolutely.
Gilly, his wife, his whole family, Wallow, the whole team over there. Um, Very unfortunate situation.
Mm-hmm.
His son being murdered in Philadelphia. Believe his services was today.
Mm-hmm.
Very unfortunate and sad situation, especially somebody that's in the media space.
Yeah,
Um, you know, I've met Gilly a few times. I don't have like the best relationship with him. I'm not like personal friends with him, but every time that we met him, he was cool.
yeah,
A lot of energy, very, joyful type of person. So very, sad situation for sure. Anytime that, anybody passes away, it's unfortunate.
yeah,
But, especially when it's somebody's child.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think it's a something that gun violence in America has to be addressed at some point, especially in our communities,
hmm
and it's an epidemic that is continuously getting worse. So we definitely have to find ways to lower gun violence, um,
Access to guns.
especially amongst young people. We
Mm-hmm.
have to conflict resolution
yeah.
and different things. A lot of different things have to come into play. But I wanted to definitely send our condolences and RIP for sure.
Yeah, and we're just praying for strength and mercy over the entire family. I saw Lo put up a post this morning about the mission that they're on and how it's going to be continuing, and their faith is even stronger now of what they've been called to do. So it takes a lot of strength and a lot of character to be in that position and have that mindset when you have a tragedy that strikes like this. So again, thoughts and prayers to the entire family, man. We are with you. We are thinking of you. We're praying for you.
Yeah, blessings to you and your family. I can only imagine what he's going through. I've never met Gilly, but like you said, a ball of energy. I was a fan of his when he was a rapper. So like, we do have to have a conversation about, like you said, conflict resolution. Because to make it what you would think would be out, and then for his kid to go through that, well, not that was heartbreaking. That was heartbreaking. So, our prayers to him and his family.
Yes, for sure, for sure. Um, so yes, that was a very unfortunate situation, sad situation. But on a brighter note, we had a very good weekend in Detroit. So definitely want to just thank the whole entire city of Detroit, Ally, United Masters, Ken, everybody on the ground in Detroit that always shows us so much love. Detroit is a very special place. It's one of these places that, you know, if they rock with you, they rock with you
Mm-hmm.
heavy. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? If they
Mm-hmm.
rock with you, they rock with you like you family. And since day one, everybody that we met been A1 to us. Um, just so much love, man. That event was amazing. Haha Davis, Icewear Vezo, Hill Harper, we
Mm-hmm.
interviewed, but just so many people, everybody that just came out. Bravo. I don't want to forget anybody's name,
Yeah.
but so many people who showed us love in Detroit. We don't take that for granted. And Detroit's a city that had a bad rap for a long time. But I really encourage people not to just listen to what the media portrays, because the media can have you scared of something, and that could be done intentionally, because a lot of development is happening, especially in the downtown area. So Detroit's on the rise, but it's just good energy
Yeah.
around. Like every time we go out there, they just super solid, good energy, good vibes. Like I really like the city a lot. And very appreciative that we were able to do that event in Detroit, Earn Your Masters. And shout out to everybody that came out and showed us love at the event and the whole entire weekend. Like it's just, red carpet treatment every time we go to Detroit. So we really, really, really appreciate Mario, everybody.
Yeah, we got to give a big shout out to our boy Turbo. Turbo looked out for us. And I'm glad you said Mario. Shout out to Mario Kelly. We had a moment, man. We met Mario probably a little over a year ago, and we were out one night after dinner, and I guess where we were standing, we could look into Tiger Stadium, Comerica Park, and we were looking out, and he was like, "Troy, look at that. That's the power of impact." And I'm like, "What you mean?" He was like, "My company is inside that stadium right now cleaning, and that's because of the impact that y'all are having. I'm able to employ my community." So just moments like that, man, as we're sitting there having a drink and watching what growth can be and what the impact can be and some of the future plans that he has inside of not only Detroit, but now he's in Houston. He's doing the NRG Stadium, and he has some other plans for some other stadiums throughout the country. It's incredible, man. So just highlighting our people, what that can do is endless, man. So we're going to continue to do that. But shout out to him because that story was a dope one.
For my Midwest family, I'm sorry I was not there. I thought I had made it. Yeah, it was looking for me. So the event looked amazing. I definitely won't miss another one. I was with my baby Xander, but Troy called me, FaceTime me. So I had a chance to talk to a couple of y'all. I appreciate y'all. But I will be seeing you at InvestFest.
That's a fact. And you were honored. You were honored. We accepted the award on your behalf.
Yeah, they gave you
shout out to the city council.
They gave you a proclamation.
That's fire. Indiana, you on the clock.
You're
on the clock.
Yeah, being recognized in a city in a place you're not from, there's nothing like that, man. So shout out to the entire city of Detroit. That was love.
Love is love, man. So we're gonna get into it. Big episode tomorrow. Shout out to Rotimi. We in the African vibe right now. Get your tickets to Market Mondays Ghana. And Rotimi, man, he's from Nigeria originally. And really dope individual. He's actually an extremely smart person. Talked about investing, real estate, acting, business. His wife is a huge star on the continent too. So they talked about family business, plans for Africa. Like we've been having a lot of content related to Africa. So this is right in theme with that. And this is another dope episode. So shout out to Punch, shout out to Rotimi, shout out to the whole team. That tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Check it out. And this weekend we'll be in Miami. Shout out to my boy David Shands.
Yes.
He's doing a podcast summit.
Yes.
And we're gonna go out there. We're gonna go out there and speak. I think we can speak on Monday. But shout out to Dave. Get your tickets if you're in Miami or if you're interested in learning about podcasts. You know, Dave's a good dude, man.
Special talent. Yeah, he's special, man.
So, he invited us to come speak. So we'll be lending our expertise to up and coming people in the space.
We might know a thing or two about podcasting.
Just a little bit.
Maybe.
Perhaps. All right. That's it. Because I know everybody hates the long drawn out openings.
All right, folks. All right. Here you go, man. Here's your disclaimer. Do your own research.
I was going to ask Ian if he had anything.
Oh, my fault.
Ian, you got any announcements you want to make?
Yes, sticking with the Africa theme, I texted Keys yesterday. I think he had an amazing episode that dropped. So check out his episode.
Super dope.
That was fire. Stock Club call will be this Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central. I'm proud of you. Shout out to my guy. He doesn't want me to reveal his name. I made the post on IG though. He's up 793% since 2018. So join the call. We've been having some exciting discussions about when I think a crash will happen, what will be the cause of it, and how to ultimately take advantage of it. We'll talk about some of that tonight. And get your tickets to Market Mondays in Ghana and InvestFest. I still can't reveal who I will be on stage with, but assets under management is really high.
Billions.
There's a story to tell.
Soon reach.
Let's go.
All right. Disclaimer.
Yeah, let's do it. Our content is intended to be used and must be used for informational purposes only. It's very important to do your own analysis before making any investment based on your own personal circumstances. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with or independently research and verify any information that you find on our show and wish to rely upon, whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise. People continue to do the research, continue to share it when it's great. And if you got it from somebody, please give them the credit for it. Love is love. Hey, Ian, I got to make one of those calls. I keep seeing how fire the calls are at. I'm like, yo, I gotta make one of them calls, man. Can I get an invite? Can I get an invite once?
Don't do that all the time. I got you. Hell yeah, let's do it. Oh, and I gotta tell Bren happy birthday. I appreciate you, love you dearly. One of my dearest friends, member of Red Panda, and go stream Meta's EP, me and Bam been trying to put some majesty together for Chicago. So go support the Queen, Maida, and her new project.
Yeah, shout out to my niece. Her birthday's today
I'm about
too.
to say,
so.
yeah. We got some family birthdays this
Yeah.
week.
Hey, happy birthday.
Blessing.
Mom coming
she
up?
turns 9. She's on vacation. My mom's on vacation.
Well, her birthday coming up.
Yeah, her birthday's
it's almost
coming
Leo
up for
season.
sure. So happy
Almost.
birthday. Happy birthday to my mom and happy birthday to my niece. For sure. Enjoy your
Can
day.
we announce the other thing too or no?
What other
No?
things?
Okay.
What thing is that?
When we gonna hang out at the
Is that this weekend?
In the north?
Yep.
Yeah, we can announce it.
I think that is it. That's this week.
So yeah, Karabana, Toronto. We are coming back. This time it's just for the love. We're not doing a show. It's not a show.
I'm not playing no basketball.
Yeah. But we doing a vibe, man. We're gonna be there all weekend, Karabana Weekend.
Yeah.
We're gonna be doing an activation on that Monday. We'll release all the details on social media soon come. But it's a vibe. And it's just our way of saying thank you. Free.
Yeah.
The activation will be free.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna vibe out all weekend. I think we might be on a float, I believe.
Perhaps.
Anything can happen.
Yes.
Perhaps.
Anything can happen when we're in Canada. So Canada, we are headed your way. Karabana Weekend will be releasing information soon. Shout out to the whole team in Canada.
Shout out to the team. I love y'all.
Love you guys so much. And yeah, we're gonna make this happen.
We are the North.
Shout out to my guy. This is the last time I bring up the injury. I promise you. I'm done. He's like, bro, quit slandering me. People figured it out. I'm like, sorry, man.
Shout
My
out to
bad.
Fries.
Yeah. Shout out to my guy.
All right, let's get into this. So, is the Nasdaq setting up for a crash, or will the AI bubble be the cause of it? The Nasdaq has been running up tremendously over the last 6 months. Went from at its low, it was like 11,000, hovering a little bit over 11,000. Now it's over 14. Now it's over 14,000. So, that's a pretty big jump in a 6-month time frame. Yeah. So a lot of that has been the cause of this AI frenzy that we're in. Everybody talks about ChatGPT all the time, and everybody's coming out with a competitor to ChatGPT. We'll talk about that today as well. Apple and Google and Meta,
Microsoft,
and so Microsoft, and they invested in ChatGPT as well, OpenAI. But what comes up must come down. So yeah, what's the deal?
A lot of people were asking me this question over the weekend, and 16,000 is usually a great support area for, resistance area for NASDAQ. I don't think we'll have a crash. I think what people are worried about is that the market has went up so fast. Is it going to pull back? My number one piece of advice for everyone long-term is through every occasion, every season, every storm, every news headline, please look to hold for 5 or 10 years. Will we have a pullback at some point? If it's not 16,000, maybe 17,000, we'll have a little bit of a pullback. For my traders, I would definitely map out your technicals. I will look to see if we break past 16,000 and what news comes out as a result. So like Tesla reported, we'll talk about that. If more companies report better earnings, we'll push past that 16,000, 17,000 level with no problem. But if we aren't seeing strong earnings over the next couple of weeks, it'll give you a sign that we'll begin to slow down. So for my long-term investors, don't worry about it, because everyone who's always talking about a crash, they are betting on the wrong side of history and the market. But for my short-term investors or swing traders, I would map out my levels and have some protection in place. And now is definitely not the time to buy the NASDAQ. Like if you haven't got in already, it's too late. You're going to have to wait for a little bit of a pullback.
Yeah, I mean, if we look where it was maybe a year and a half ago, we're talking down 30%. And so, I mean, just from a standpoint of looking at the technicals, the chances of it pulling back another 20 is tough. But you have to look at what, like you said, what is leading it. Is it the Magnificent Seven leading, or is it the entire space? And that's a tough call, right? Because if we're looking at it, yeah, the Magnificent Seven are leading. Yes, AI is leading it. Is AI slowing down? No. Will there be companies that are going to be created and acquired during this time? Yes. do those companies cost money? Absolutely. And so that's going to dig into to the margins of some of these companies that are looking to acquire. But I don't see the space having another. We wouldn't call it a correction, right? Because that means it'd have to go down 20%. But it's going to slow down, right? It has to slow down, and that's good. That's a good thing, right? Well, what we saw on Thursday and Friday, I was getting text messages and DMs like, "Oh my God, is it happening again?" And I'm like, "Do you realize that you've gone up over like 12% in a month? Like, do you realize that?" Right? So
For
like
an
when
index.
for an index, not just a company, for the entire index. And so when it pulls back 2% in a day, I want you to be prepared for that. I want you to like really get to see like what that feels like. And so it's important to have these moments. It's a resetting of a sense when it's like, all right, well, let's take a pause. We got a couple indicators that are going to be coming this week. We know that the Fed is going to raise potentially. All signs are pointing to that. We know that a lot of the big companies are going to be reporting this week, Microsoft and Google included. Meta's included in that. And so let's see where we're at before we continue to ascend, or if we go sideways for a little bit. It's been an incredible year for the Nasdaq, and so we got to just take these things in stride, like really assess what's happened, not look at the short term, but look at what has happened over the past 6 months, look over the past 2 years, 3 years, and really assess where we're at right now. We're in a good spot.
And a quick lesson too, please write this down. If the market does not halt, there's really nothing to worry about. Like if things are getting really bad when you hop on CNBC or Bloomberg and they halted trading because the market is falling down so much. So if we fall down, I think 3%, and they like work the circuit breaker to make the market stop or pause for a little bit, that's when we're getting into a territory where we could end up having a correction. But these are just normal waves and pullbacks. And tip number 2, you have to look for amazing asymmetric risk. So where you have the risk to reward ratio in your favor. We're almost at the top of the market. It's just a lot of people at this point taking profit. So I don't see a crash coming. Will we see a pullback of 5 to maybe 10%? Sure. But like Troy said, I mean, we went up 12% in a month. And since last year, the Nasdaq has been on one of the most amazing runs in the last 15 years. I don't think there's anything to worry about right now.
Yeah. Well,
35% year to date, Nasdaq.
And the Dow was up 11 days in a row.
Yeah, right. A pullback of a 1% or 0.75% or even 2% in a day. Yeah. In your portfolio, if you're looking at your account on a daily basis, it doesn't feel great, but it's part of it, right? It comes with the territory, right? When we were climbing up, 20% over the past 3 months, it was an amazing. This comes with it. So you gotta take the ebbs and flows of investing.
Yeah, we always have to look at that long-term horizon and never the short-term. Like we had something happen today that most people, if it would have happened to them, they would have wanted to quit. But over the aggregate of a year, most of the things that bother us won't even matter. So keep your focus on what is happening long-term. And also too, I had told, speaking of Stock Club call, I had put a stat in our chat, and I want to read this off in terms of Vanguard and BlackRock. So combined, Vanguard and BlackRock has 16.69 trillion under management. That is the equivalent of 71% of the United States GDP. Vanguard and BlackRock are both heavily invested into the Nasdaq, and majority of the properties in Nasdaq, if you think they're going to fall while they are in it, we have another thing coming. And the biggest investor in Vanguard is BlackRock and vice versa. They have vested interest in these companies going up for a long period of time. That's why I always say the market is rigged, but it is rigged to stay up for a long period of time. Don't bet against the Fed, Vanguard, or BlackRock.
Don't you do it.
Don't do it. Please don't do it.
Please don't do it.
Well, speaking of AI, and we will be having a AI activation at InvestFest. That's actually something that we added to the InvestFest vendor marketplace because I feel like it's important for people to actually see different things visually. So wanted to kind of give that glimpse into the future. So that is something I'm extremely looking forward to this year for InvestFest because we talk about AI so much that you gotta kind of give people like something that they could really feel and touch. Pause. But let's talk about Apple. Apple. launches.
Whoa, hey, yo.
Hey.
Well, I said,
No,
pause.
you did.
I said pause.
I didn't say that. I just laughed.
Yeah.
So Apple announces the launch of a ChatGPT competitor called Ajax, and Microsoft pops on an announcement of a $30 per month subscription AI version of Office 365. So, what are your thoughts on what this means for these two companies and for ChatGPT? It seems like ChatGPT is getting hit from all sides. Pause. SEC,
2 for 2.
got to be on your feet.
Yeah.
The SEC has been, investigating them now, and now the public is starting to criticize ChatGPT. They got lawsuits from, different people in Hollywood. They have competitors, Apple, Meta, Google, even the people that they're in business with is becoming a competitor, Microsoft, which is interesting. That I've heard that companies stop sharing information with them. Meta and Google, they stopped sharing data, so it's kind of hurting their search engines a little bit. So yeah, when you're on top, you get the arrows thrown at you. So let's talk about that one first. What is the future of ChatGPT? Because at first it looked like it was unstoppable. Now it's looking like, I don't know. I actually had an issue last week. I tried to use it, and it must have been down a server. It wasn't working, so I had to get another app. I forgot the name of the other app that is powered by ChatGPT. It uses ChatGPT, but I had to do a whole thing because ChatGPT didn't work for like a whole entire day for me. So, yeah, what's the future for ChatGPT?
I think they are still promising, but everyone is catching on. And I kept alluding to, hey, there's going to be a couple players that are going to get into space, and everyone knows Apple and Microsoft are two of my favorites. If you go on careers at Apple, they have 104 different job listings for machine learning and AI jobs. So when I start, and that's a tip that I gave before, like if you want to know if a company is really interested in something, look at what they're hiring for. So when you go look at Apple, Microsoft, and Google, as soon as ChatGPT started to make their rounds and get really popular, it's kind of like in music. Like when a sound gets really popular, every other label tries to find an artist that can do that same thing. I think we are entering like the App Store version of AI, where it's like every player has to be in a space. An analyst, I think 4 weeks ago, was saying that Apple needs to focus on AI and not VR. And here you are. They had this in the works already. I think Microsoft, we talked about it before, but with them and Google with Google Docs, I think the productivity increases are going to be amazing. But for them to have a $30 subscription on Office 365, and for anybody that's ever used Excel, just having AI there alone is going to be tremendous. And I don't think ChatGPT will lose their lead per se, but everyone at some point, Meta, Adobe, Microsoft, Tesla, at some point, everyone will have their own version of this. And 2 years ago, I was talking about the automation and everything, and Cal Newport was a huge inspiration for like the not having a bunch of meetings and not having answering emails, and now we have a bunch of solutions here now. Every major company is going to have an AI like template, because you need it in order for your earnings to be relevant, because if not, it's going to look like you're being left behind. The same way a lot of business owners had to go into creating content. They made an incredible adjustment. I think Microsoft probably will monetize the best off of this, but I think Apple will be able to integrate this the best with Siri and a couple other maps and other platforms they already have in the App Store.
Yeah, I like what you said there about Apple focusing on AR and not VR. One of the things that they did, people probably didn't notice, is right when they announced the headset, maybe in June last week, they said they're cutting back on production before they even came out. Well, that gives you a sign of what they're looking at. But this is what I said about 2 weeks ago. Sometimes you get out ahead, and then for every reason for every reason that you just said, sometimes people will put you on a moat. Right? You can create a moat, or you can.
Hold on, no. I got to give you a moment. Everyone, please write this down. Troy has been screaming this point, and at some point, we're going to have a person on here to tell you more. Tell them this strategy of letting them be on the moat by themselves first.
Right. So when you go out, and I would compare it to a MySpace. it becomes a thing that everybody has to use, right? When we're talking about social, not even, well, I guess this is the early social media in a sense, place that everybody's putting music, everybody's putting their personal information, and then a Facebook comes, right? And then they take over everything that you've done and they've perfected it. Sometimes you get put on a moat by companies that see your technology and see what you're doing, and they've improved on it. And so when I think about ChatGPT, and I shared this with y'all a few days ago, how do you compete when everybody uses your technology, uses the GPT technology? What is your competitive advantage, especially when some of them are more effective than what you're doing? And so when I think about Bard and I'm thinking about Google from a search standpoint, their technology can read the entire internet in 13 days. Right? Every 13, it source the entire internet, whereas in ChatGPT, it's what's being put, the information that's being put. Sometimes it comes out correct, sometimes it's inaccurate. How do you change those sufficiencies? The other part, and the wise man told me this, is that if you want to see what people are doing in AI, look at what the top companies are hiring for and who they're hiring. And so when OpenAI takes off, who left OpenAI? Where did they go? Did they create another company? Where's Bill Gates investing his money? Where's Jeff Bezos investing his money? Right? Where's Jensen investing his money? And so if you start seeing where they're investing and then you see who they're hiring, because that's equally as important, right? Who are they hiring? What are they hiring them for? And what is their skill set? If they start taking the best people from all these places, and especially if they're coming from OpenAI, because if there's a lot of hires that have come from that company, they're building the next thing, right?
Yeah.
And when sometimes they build the next thing, you become obsolete. Now, do I think ChatGPT will be obsolete? No, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. But competition is here. It's going to be a game-changing competition because of the level of expertise and the professionals that are coming with new ideas, right? And so when they look at Silicon Valley, they're looking for fresh minds to come up with ideas. And the thing that they have is the capital. Does OpenAI have it? Yeah, they have a backing because Microsoft is behind it. But can it compete with the Google and the Apple when they come into the space and decide that we're going to be the top players? That's what we have to see, in addition to who's hiring and what they're hiring for and where they're taking those hires from.
And one thing that they don't have, that let's say Meta has with Instagram, or Shot, you brought this up before. Like, people use Chat GPT. Is it like a utility? It's almost like a calculator, if you will, but no one loves being on the platform yet. I think a company, if they find a way to make the user interface a lot more interactive, fun to be on, and if they get people to be excited to be on it the way that they would a social media app, that is going to have a lasting impact. Going back to the motto of, like, when I look at a company, one of the things that I always look at and see is, does this brand have a raven or fanatical fan base? ChatGPT doesn't have that yet. If Google is able to find a way to do so, or if Meta is able to do so, and it employs it on the Instagram platform, it'll definitely make some headwinds. But I'm looking to see what Adobe does as well. Google, Cisco,
another one.
Yeah, who will be a big player. Tesla eventually will have one if Elon can get focused and stop worrying about changing the logo on Twitter. And I'm looking to see what some of the media companies like Netflix will do as well, with an AI version integrated. And Bloomberg has launched it. I know everyone who's already worked on the institutional, they did have an AI model there, but there's a Bloomberg GPT that is running wild now and doing pretty well. Like, eventually we're going to see every industry have their own version of one. Like Shopify and eBay and PayPal will have one for services, and then YouTube will have one, and Apple Podcasts and the Spotify have one. Like, it'll be niche down by sector, and that's going to be really interesting to see over the next year or two.
Yeah, and everything that you just explained is kind of what's happening, right? So, like, we're being privy to what the capabilities of ChatGPT now, but you can imagine 10 years ago that they already had this technology and were testing it and sourcing it out to be used for the general public. And so if we're 10 years behind now, that's exactly what these companies have probably been working on for the past 3 to 5 years, is like, what's the next? Because we're going to have our own version of it. And so again, it comes back to the question of, when everybody has GBT? How do you now compete, and what's your competitive advantage? I'm not sure what it is yet.
Yeah. Rashad, what you think, that they're falling off or no?
No, I mean, I think that it's something that competition is good. It has to, spark innovation. Competition usually sparks innovation. So it's going to be interesting to see. Of course, Microsoft has a hand in it, so they don't have like a complete. It's not a complete underdog story, even though, like I said, Microsoft, they have a couple other products that they're working on as well. So it'll be interesting to see how much effort they actually put into ChatGPT, or how much resources they put in ChatGPT. But I feel like ChatGPT is going to be here. I'm not sure if they're going to be number one, especially with Apple. That's something that's interesting. I think Apple probably has the clear advantage here with already having the phone. Google has an advantage as well, but even with Google, you'll have to go outside of the ecosystem to get to a Google app, where Apple, I'm sure it'll be embedded in your home screen when you have the iPhone, and they'll try to make it as easy to use as possible.
But I think that's one of the advantages, though. What do you think?
That's what I just said.
No, I'm just saying Google's already the search engine on the Apple phone.
Yeah, but I'm saying they're gonna have an app. It's gonna be an app.
Saying like Bard has an app. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like like how they have the stock app, they have the health app, they have the Maps app.
Okay.
Like Google, there's Waze, there's Google Maps, but Apple has an advantage with their GPS system because the app is already on your phone. You have to download Waves.
Yeah.
You have to download Google Maps. You don't have to download the map system that's already provided for you. So it's like you're gonna have to bypass the recommended ChatGPT or whatever they're gonna call it is gonna be on your phone, in my opinion. You're gonna have to bypass the one that's already on your phone, go to the app store and download it, pay the subscription. It's gonna be a whole process. They probably even put it in for free.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's even more of an incentive. If I got something for free right there on my phone, I don't have to download it. Why not? They'll probably just add it into the monthly bill, and they get
larger data set.
That strategy works until we put that post up about the invisible technology, right? Now there is no phone, and you're just telling it, right? Like that is the GBT. It's a small device that attaches to you, and that becomes the phone, and there is no app.
But where did he used to work for?
I know it, but he's not there now. That's what I'm saying. Like, so where did he go? Who is he working for, and who's he hiring? He used to work for Apple. Yes,
I'm sure Apple has their next iteration of the iPhone in a couple of years will be no phone.
No phone, right? Then the apps become.
That's where we're headed.
Yeah, and even in part of that question, and you talked about the Office. I mean, this is brilliant, right? Like they're charging a $30 subscription to that. They have over 400 million users on Office 365.
Yeah.
400 million people.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I always like to use the 10% theory. So if even like 10% of those people say, all right, we're going to use this technology, we'll pay the $30 a month. People are paying more a month from everywhere, right? If you look at Netflix, they raise their prices. I saw Spotify that they raised their prices. Prices are going up on everything. And so
inflation,
something that's going to be used every day, like Microsoft Office. I mean, you pay that $30 subscription, especially from an enterprise standpoint. Just think about the revenue that gets brought in from that. It's kind of remarkable.
Yeah, and if they have the prompts already in there where it can like show you how to write a paper on this, research topics on this for spreadsheets. Because like I said it before, but we're looking at companies and products that can increase the GDP of the country. This is definitely one of them. This gives you a competitive advantage. And I've seen some people be like, well, using AI is laziness. I'm like, it's way more efficient. Like, so if I can get 10 times the amount of things done in one day than I used to by using 4 or 5 apps, why wouldn't I? But imagine one that is done across an enterprise. So I'm looking to see how like a Dell or HP or a laggard tech company is able to use some of the technology to be a lot more efficient, get their costs down, and then as a result be more profitable. But I think this is definitely a game changer. But I keep saying it, the companies, even with that guy who's made that technology, if he gets big enough, Google, Apple, Microsoft, somebody will buy him out and integrate the technology into their ecosystem. We have to look at these big companies as kingdoms. There's
Yeah.
only room enough for a few kingdoms, and if you get big enough, they're either going to take you on as competition, put you through litigation, or acquire you. Hopefully, he gets acquired, and then he can ride off into the sunset again. But we have to look at these companies as what they are. They're actually like kingdoms in terms of the number of people that they serve.
That's the next iteration, right?
Yep.
So it starts from us, well, the creators using it amongst themselves in Silicon Valley, going up to the general public, where now companies are investing in it. But I think the last iteration will be people will have their own personal GBTs. Like that's what he was kind of alluded to in that video, and it was like, well, what happens when I just have the one that knows me, right?
Yeah.
And now it can recommend things for me. It actually knows my schedule, and it just can talk to me. I think we're headed toward that in the next 5 to 10 years, where everybody has a personal GBT, and it won't just be like, hey, I have to use that one or that one. I have my own.
We'll see. I forgot to announce something. Tomorrow, big day. If you're in New York City, pull up on us at 7:30. Dykeman Park, first game of the season. They finally got the court back open.
Yes.
Team Earn Your Leisure will have the opening night game. We will have the opening night game. Dykeman Park grand opening. They got a ribbon cutting and the whole thing. I saw LeBron put on his story that he was thinking about pulling up the Dykeman. So, Bron, if you're interested in pulling up the Dykeman as a spectator or a player, that's what he said. He said the question is, should I play or should I just watch? If you're interested in watching, that's
or play. I mean, y'all need a big man.
If you're interested in watching, we can set you up. If you're interested in playing, we have your uniform. We're saving a uniform for LeBron.
23. He's not wearing 6 anymore.
He's saving a uniform for Bron. Putting it out there. Rich, Paul,
Mav, Paul.
Why not? For the culture.
One of y'all, please.
For the culture. But come, all our earners come out and support tomorrow, man. We gotta win. We gotta win.
The only option.
It's the only option.
Yeah.
So this ChatGPT situation, well, how will it affect Microsoft and Apple stock specifically? Being that at Microsoft is the $30 a month subscription, and Apple is announcing they're coming out with their own. So how will it impact their stock?
To the moon. Even if they only get 4 million people, which they'll probably get more, that's 120 million per month, not factoring in churn. Microsoft and Apple are just finding more ways to be more dominant. And unlike the 1990s and early 2000s, they're finding a way to do so at scale and give people what they want. A conversation that we had earlier, about the people have to vote you. And unanimously, Apple has been voted as the most favorite tech company, and Microsoft is finding a way to be more beloved amongst enterprise. The stock is going to keep getting better. Like everything that like Apple and Microsoft are like LeBron in this regards. Like it took all the criticism and adapted his game to that. At one point, LeBron can't shoot the three well. He's not being physical enough in the post. He always looks to make the right play and not be aggressive. He took all that criticism and became better. Apple's done the same thing. They could have just leaned on the iPhone sales and iPad sales forever. They did not. They're constantly finding ways to innovate. As soon as Meta decided to go be a metaverse company, Apple said, okay, let me make some hardware for that sector. They're still working on a wallet and the blockchain stuff. They've just been quiet about that. And then all of a sudden, here comes AI. And then they adjust and put a team on there to make one of the better large language models there. Like the biggest companies there's a reason why they're number one and number two. And I know everyone once a month, like not everyone, frequently people ask me, hey, what's the new Apple and Microsoft? Apple and Microsoft. Because if you get big enough to get hot enough, they're going to buy you out. This is how business is done. And when 50 was the hottest thing on earth, Jimmy and Dre and M all got together and say, hey, let's all go in on this deal.
Yeah, let's just talk about the profits real quick, Ian. So, I mean, if we talk even at a 5%, right? So if we go with that number of 400 million users on Office 365. You take that number, right? You get 5% of the people. You're at 20 million. 20 million times $30 a month. You got $600 million a month. $600 million a month for a product that you already have, from a product that people are used to and are very familiar with and have loyalty to, right? I mean, people use that. I don't know how many people use Pages in enterprises. I don't know, but I know people use Microsoft
Not that
Office,
many.
right?
Yeah.
At 10%, if they have 10% of those subscribers come back and say, all right, we're going to get the subscription, now you're doing 1.2 to 1.3 billion a month just on that, just on Microsoft Office. That doesn't even account anybody that decides that, hey, we want to now add this to our economy, and we want to put this and implement this into our business. That's just existing customers.
Yeah.
So what do we think about the stock? It looks the rise of Microsoft is going to continue, and it looks promising for the future.
I mean, Satya has done so well that since he's been there in tenure, he's personally made $1 billion. You know how much value you have to drive for a company for you to collect $1 billion over like an 8-year period? Like we keep having these conversations about lists. We need to have a conversation about top 5 CEOs of this decade. That's way more important than if you think Lil Uzi's "I Wanna Rock" single was rapper. Like that shit does not matter. Like these companies are controlling the world, and if we're not involved in them and don't invest in them, we're going to be left behind. Like I know you guys saw that video where that guy worked at a factory for 30 years and just lost his pension. I hate to say it. This is not going to be the only company. I keep screaming it, and no one wants to talk about it. Chicago's pension fund is almost bankrupt, and no one's saying a word. Chicago will be there in October. Hopefully, we can have a solution for you by then. Things are getting serious. Inflation is getting high. Like when I saw Spotify and Netflix adjust their pricing model, I'm like, inflation is really hitting, because this is the fastest that I've seen them make a change in terms of their pricing, and more companies are doing it. We have to be very careful. Like once again, the average car payment is now like $702 to $790. A lot of people say that's too much. No, that's for a normal car. This isn't for a G-Wagon or a Bentayga. This is for like a normal car. Inflation is kicking the world's ass, and we mismatch. But also too, when you have no inflation, when you have 0% interest rates for 14, 15 years, what do you think is going to happen? If you are not investing for the long term, it's going to be the biggest mistake of your life. But thank you guys for being here. And if I've made you money, please put yes in chat.
There it is. There it is. Do you think at some point in the next 3 to 5 years, with this technology, being that Apple is going to enter the the GPT race, Microsoft is already here in the lead. Does Microsoft pass Apple as the number one company in terms of market cap? Right now, Apple's at over 3 trillion. Microsoft's at 2.6. Do you see it happen in the next 3 to 5 years?
Possibly. If Apple has a couple slips, and if this VR project doesn't go as well, the one thing they want to address is that the iPhone market is slowing down dramatically. I do think, and shout out to all my Samsung people, I'll give you guys credit. Apple needs to innovate a hell of a lot faster. Like I know they buy the screens from Samsung, but like by the time iPhone 17 comes out, it's going to be the same phone as like the 14 Pro Max. I want to see some innovation outside of the camera. I think that's amazing. I think the software is amazing, but like in terms of the phone, we haven't seen much differentiation. Like my guy Drew, like he'll get every new Samsung phone. I'm like, wait, you can put your phone on top of a phone and charge it? I can't do that. Like there's so many innovations I think that we take for granted that are not being used on Apple side. And I think if they were a lot more innovative and not being comfortable there, they could see the sales increase. But we're getting a very interesting race. Like I think Microsoft has the B2B enterprise side on lock. Apple has the consumer side on lock. But if Microsoft is able to get a crossover consumer hit, it could put them in the lead. But that's why I've always said invest in the top 2.
Yeah, it makes it interesting because we just talked about this last week, and we talked about innovation and what's the new product. Tim Cook, the way it looks, is like the new product is new territory. Let's go to India.
India.
That's a new product. And then I saw reports now that Amazon has decided that they're going to spend 15 billion in India. And so
Mhm.
rather than saying like, all right, we have to come up with a new product, let's get new customers in new territories. Another strategy.
I mean, I also found it ironic on the political side that there's no money to build up the black middle class, and we sell money to Ukraine to build up India's middle class and China's, but there's no money for black and brown people. Tune into the episode of High Level Conversations with 19 Keys, where some solutions are posed. You understand me? I don't understand how the money out there. Like for those of you like, yo, you just pro Apple and poor Microsoft. I'm like, I'm here to make y'all money. I'll see the other side of the game too, though. How are all these billions able to be funneled to, like, we literally built India's middle class and China's, and then they became our competition. And now we're going to move some of our most prized companies there.
Well, let's talk about some other companies outside of
smart. Good call.
outside of Michael and Applesauce. Let's talk about some companies that have earnings this week, and let's see, what you think about the long-term perspective for these different respective companies. Domino's Pizza.
Domino's, I do like long term. I mean, I know they bounced below 300. Long term, I like them. They should eventually get back to that $500 mark, but I wouldn't buy it unless it was like at 300 to 275. But I do like it for a long term hold for sure. So in 2010, they were at like $23, and then they ran up to $5.67 in 2021. Of course, they corrected, but Domino's, the efficiency on the technology side is amazing. I do like the company.
You don't think that people becoming more health conscious is going to hurt Domino's?
They made a brilliant move the other day though.
But where are people eating Domino's though?
This
Midwest, Southwest.
Yeah, they definitely eat.
Middle of America?
Yeah, for sure.
Yes,
for sure.
Why I'm
Even here,
South Indiana.
Even Domino's here.
Domino's
on Central Ave is a
Domino's. You won't eat at a diner, bro.
Yo, he's capping like they doing a 5-5-5. That's a fact. That's happening.
I'm a food snob, so the
Rashad,
circles that I'm in,
bro.
TV time.
They eating Domino's, bro. They eating Domino's. They eating the breadsticks from Domino's. They eating the cheesy. They eating all that, bro. The kids.
And STK, do you pigeon food too?
That was Benny Hanna's, bro. It's okay.
Yeah,
we left STK alone. We haven't.
Yeah, me too. The service terrible.
They never offer us anything in return.
Yeah,
for some of the recognition.
We've moved
and the
on.
tater tots ain't hitting like how they used to hit.
Tater tots.
Shout out to the tartar. We don't do tater tots.
But no, my thing is, I just feel like pizza. If you are going to indulge in pizza, if me personally, right, I would just go to a pizzeria. I don't want to order fast food pizza.
That's a New York bias, though.
But it's a value pizza. That's the thing. It's like, why do people eat Little Caesars?
I don't eat Little Caesars.
I'm not saying you
Little
do.
Caesars. That's even worse.
Little Caesars been trash.
But people eat it.
That's even worse.
It's the reason that he can build a center in the middle. He can build an arena in the middle of Detroit.
Well, they also own a bunch of other stuff.
And he owns some real estate out there too.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But it was built on the brand. People will eat value foods. That's why people eat McDonald's.
Value foods?
Yeah. So it's like if I can get not in terms of the actual like this is great for you. I'm talking about in the pricing. So if it's $5 for 3 pies, people gonna buy it. Like, yo, I can get 5. I'm gonna do it. This is the reason why they
see
have
the video now. They're too good to even eat.
No, they're not gonna say there. It's why they have a dollar menu at McDonald's and and Burger King has a dollar menu because they're looking at it like, wait, I can get 2 Big Macs for $2. They're gonna do it because it appears to be a value. Now, on the health side of it, obviously we know that it's not the healthiest thing, but it is a value offer. So that's why people do it. But Domino's, their stock did go up. They made a very, very important strategic partner the other day. Did you see it?
Yes. Tell us some more. I mean, Troy.
I shall. They have now partnered with Uber Eats. Whereas they didn't before. They would have their own exclusive drivers and they were trying to go that route. Then they added technology where you can order from where you are. And now they have finally come to Uber Eats, which from my assumption, I believe will help the company because that opens you up to a more of a broader audience. And now there's more opportunities for people to order and have their food delivered to them because there's more drivers.
Uber Eats before?
No, they just got there.
But because they have their own,
they have their own drivers.
The reason why I love Domino's in the fast food space is because of like the tech suite that they have there. So like the efficiency of like ordering to getting it to your door is like
Yeah,
probably twice as good as
right.
Pizza Hut's, and that's their real competitive advantage. As a
We don't got no
result,
Pizza Huts around us though.
Pizza Hut used to be
It's
good.
all right. Pizza Hut's all right.
Domino's is always nasty. Pizza Hut used to be good back when I did indulge in that type of behavior.
You once
Mhm.
indulge in Domino's?
I never liked Domino's,
You
but
like it?
I did like Pizza Hut at some point. Even the square pizza.
The cheesy bread's official.
yeah,
That's
cheese
a
bread.
fact. The cheesy bread's official. And they when they had the buffalo wings, that was like, do they still do? I think they still do. Those is good. Now they got the cinnamon rolls.
Can we zoom in on Rashad's face of disappointment?
He's trying now.
I'm trying
The next
to-
thing I'm gonna do is have a video when the children are all together and they're eating Domino's. That's the next thing we're gonna have.
Niles won't be there.
He will be there.
He won't eat no Domino's. Hey,
He will. You see the face he's making now? Like, what are you doing? That's the face he's gonna make when he's like, I was hungry.
True, but yeah, I like Domino's. The technology platform is amazing. They're better at efficiency, and their margins are marginally better than their competition. So that's the reason.
Yeah.
I like it.
Oh, and the ticker is DPZ. So I know some people like, well, what's DPZ is the ticker for Domino's.
Domino's, yeah.
Yep.
Phillips.
Yes.
Phillips 66?
Yes. No. Well, we can do that. PSX.
Okay,
We're
let's
gonna
do
do that one.
Yep.
Not one of my favorites, but the stock has performed pretty well. Like I like it at the $60 range. It's almost at 110 right now, so it's just too high. There's like no upside return. Like the all-time high is 123, so to buy it at 107 would be a huge mistake. I know people want some diversity in commodities and asset classes and stuff like that. That's why I picked this one, but I wouldn't touch it unless it was at 60. Remember, like at one point, talking about oil and natural gas was the hottest thing, and then it reverted back to the mean and then below. But Phillips is solid. But like I said, from an investment standpoint, I wouldn't touch it unless it was like at 50 or 60. And I would probably ride it out to like 110 and exit there. And we're almost there.
How about 3M? Most people are not familiar with 3M, but if they look around, especially if you're in the world of education and you start looking at the products that are being ordered, like the supplies, you're going to start seeing 3M a lot. They've had a rough year, down 21%, 22%. What about 3M?
I don't love this one. If I had to touch it as an investor, it would be $74.64. So when y'all do your review videos, put that price in there too. We're gonna start reviewing some net worths. I'm gonna get mad one day and we're gonna have a whole nother talk about net worths. And I've been writing complex every week about this podcaster's earning list. Okay, I'm gonna do the Jim Jones and put my own list out. Some of y'all favors ain't as high as y'all think, but 74.64 is why I like Triple M. This is a comedic bit written by 85 South. I'm not being cocky or arrogant. I haven't changed. But yeah, they've had a troubling year. That slide down from 200 down now to 104 has been tremendous. If I can even better, if it potentially went back to that COVID level of like $42.25, I would like it there. But 3M, I don't love on the earnings side for sure.
All right. We talked about Microsoft already, so let's go into Meta.
Meta, I think that they're going to do very well in earnings. I got a little message like in that group that I'm in with Zuckerberg and some of the team members, like they're pushing more into international subscriptions.
You're in a group chat with Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, on God.
I'm just
on God. He says, "Oh God."
Hold on.
He said, "Oh God, that's got it's real."
Can we zoom in? Can we zoom real quick?
Can we get the zoom? Can we get
real quick?
That's when his camera should zoom in on him.
I can't see it, but I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, it's one of the broadcast channels on IG where he like send out updates on the stuff that they're working on. But they are looking to expand subscriptions into more countries over the next couple months. So ever since he's been in that gym, and I was talking to Ish about this last night, people have to be very careful. Like when you consistently talk negatively about somebody, you'll give them motivation to beat you. Elon, I love you. I hope you come on the show, but look like Mark Zuckerberg will beat your ass if you get in that dojo with him, right? If you get in that ring. There's a competitive flair that I don't think he's been as ambitious and hungry probably since they went public. So of course, with this and a couple other iterations, I think Meta's on a good run for sure. So, and I think that the earnings would be great.
All right. Google,
Google will be amazing.
Alphabet.
Google's going to be absolutely fantastic. I love it. I love it.
How about Spotify? We just saw that they raised their premium. I think it's now 19. Is it 19.99 a month?
Mhm.
Is that what they're doing? What's your thoughts on Spotify? We've been now I wouldn't say critical. We've put them on watch for the
I
amount of
have
money that they have spent with the lack of return on some of that investment. So, what is our thoughts on Spotify?
It's not a company that I love. I think they'll bounce and recover and revert to that mean of like 225. But if I was a better man, I wouldn't put a lot of money into being a long-term shareholder of Spotify. The margins are thin. Shout out to Ray Daniels. I was having a conversation with him. Like the music industry gets 25% of their profits. That's troubling. So I don't like the pricing model. Charlemagne and Schultz went on a big rant this weekend, talking about streaming services and content creators. And are we like going to see a slow decline of many of these? I don't think Spotify will ever blow up. I've personally been using Spotify for maybe 3 or 4 years, but the margins in the business are just not amazing. So I wouldn't invest in it long term.
He says he's not into that. Next Era Energy. They're having a slightly down year, down 6%, almost 7% for the year. What's your thoughts in the energy space? Next Era, the ticker
It's NEE.
NEE. Yep. What's
Yeah,
your
it's
thoughts?
not bad. I like it at 70 and maybe at 50 is too high above there. The all-time high is 93.72. So a rule of thumb, if whatever the all-time high is, a great place to invest in it is 50% from that high. It's just too high. Next tier is an okay company. It's a B-class company. It's not A tier. Hey, what you think of next tier?
Yes.
But no, I wouldn't invest in it right now unless it got to that 70 mark or $50 mark.
Got you.
All right. Let's go to Crocs. This is interesting. My son wears Crocs all day, every day.
I'm wearing them right now.
All the rage.
I never owned a pair of Crocs, but
Really?
Me either.
You would like them.
probably would.
You would like them.
But yeah, they've changed the game. They've changed the game for footwear. So where do we stand with Crocs?
The stock has been on a remarkable tear since 2017. Of course, in 2020, it had an incredible move up from $20 to 183. I have to look at the margins of the business and like the revenue that's coming in. I know they have hit like a fanatical cultural significance, but probably not unless it was at $40. The high is 183. So I'll have to wait till like 40 before I would be sold on buying it. But the company's done well the last couple of years. Like they found a comfort spot, a niche spot. And then of course, Soleil, he has his Crocs that he makes that I think are amazing. But I will have, as an investor, I have to wait till like $40 before I'll be willing to buy it.
$40 on that. Now let's talk about one of my favorites. Spoke about this during the pandemic. A lot of people have sent text messages. I appreciate that they've made money in this investment. Thermo Fisher Scientific, ticker is TMO. Over the past 5 years, up 146%. Kind of trading sideways this year though. Had a downturn last year. What's your thoughts long term on Thermo Fisher?
Phenomenal. I mean, it's trading sideways, but it's like at 569. Maybe they should do a stock split. Their Class A share owners probably wouldn't want that, but they've been doing incredibly well. I think the slowing down or sideways movement that we've seen is like reflective of what the overall economy and stock market is doing. But amazing company. It's like one of the better companies that's not talked about a lot. Maybe in 2 or 3 years they'll be at 700. But yeah, this company is solid. I wish they would do more on the marketing side. I think that would help push them a lot more. But that run from 2011, 2012, going from 65 up to 600 has been amazing. That's 10x return. There's nothing bad I can say about this company right now at all.
Yeah, they had an incredible run during the pandemic when you're talking about people are going to have the vaccine, and who's actually going to be bottling and storing that vaccine to make sure it gets to facilities. Thermo Fisher was one of the leaders in that. And so It's interesting to see. I mean, there'll be not that COVID is something that can't come back, but it looks like we have that under control as of now. But I'm sure there'll be something else in the next year or 6 months, or maybe tomorrow. We never know. That's why we talk about looking at the healthcare field, because there's always going to be something, and there's always going to be a need. Thermo Fisher is one of those ones that we definitely have on the watch list.
Yeah, and I want to say it again. If I wasn't investing in tech as a primary sector, healthcare would definitely be it. Like pharma first, and then broader healthcare companies, like that will make up the majority of my portfolio. Because if you look at it, healthcare was that before tech was that. Like in the 1990s, pharmaceutical companies would give all the high gains. So yeah, if you're not heavily invested into tech, and going back to the point about Domino's Pizza, I think people want to be health conscious, but the way our system works is that we're going to make sure that 80% of the population isn't. Healthcare companies, as a result, are going to end up going up a lot more. That's why Eli Lilly's done well, Thermo Fisher has done well, Stryker's done well, because there's always going to be a population of sick people by design in this country.
All right.
Yep.
All right. You want to get one more?
Sure.
Yeah. Let's talk about, this is a good one. Chipotle. Chipotle just seems to be, I mean, every time you look, I'm looking at this stock, I'm saying to myself, will it slow down? Will it slow down? Will it pull back? What's the new innovation? And it hasn't. And it hasn't. And I'm not sure if it's going to anytime soon. What are your thoughts on their earnings report this quarter?
I think they'll do well. If I had one regret of like a stock that I didn't invest in and shouldn't have held on
Oof.
too longer, it would be Chipotle.
Whew.
For a while, it was a lot more volatile. If you go back to like 2014, 2013, let me see. So yeah, in 2015, it was at 740. It went down to 264 in 2018. Everyone thought it was done. That was the consensus. Like they won't be able to recover and get back to those highs. And all of a sudden, the marketing got better, margins got better, as the world desired, like you talked about, Rashad, to have like cleaner eating. They became a viable option. They are like our generation's version of Subway, as like the fast food healthy place to go to. And they've been on a tear. I know this is one of Trap's favorites, so I want to give him credit for that. But yeah, if it's one that I missed out on that I wish I could have had, this is that one.
I'm with you in that group of people who I've waited and I've missed, and I'm watching it. And congrats to everybody that is inside or an investor in Chipotle. So that's a lot. There's a few others that are reporting. I'll just run off the names. Visa, we've talked about that here on Market Mondays. Not Meta. MasterCard will be reporting as well. Intel, when we talk about semis, I know TSM reported last week, and there was some good news, some bad news, but that's to be expected. And then from the energy sector, we got Exxon and Chevron reporting Friday, as well as P&G, Procter & Gamble.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's talk about Charlemagne the God. Shout out to Charlemagne the God show. So what do you think of Charlemagne's prediction that media companies are dying in this era, and there will eventually only be two main streaming companies that will remain after the collapse?
Yeah, this is something him and Schultz talked about on Brilliant Idiots, and I posted it this past weekend. Going back to the actor strike, I think one of the things that is not talked about enough and that they brought up is that the profitability is not there how everyone thinks. I know Joe, when he was in the Spotify negotiations, he asked a brilliant question that never got answered, which was, what is the value of a stream? And Spotify never gave that answer for a multitude of reasons. I think a lot of these streaming companies are in a bad position because they are not as profitable, and they just spent too much money on content. Like, it's a horrible model to make a show for $100 million and expect it to make the money back $14 or $9 at a time. I don't know if there will be two players only, but I think there will be a big four, as there is in most businesses. I think it'll eventually just be Apple, Netflix, Hulu, and maybe one player. But like this proliferation of a whole bunch of streaming apps, the margins are not there. And we see it as reflective in Disney wanting to get rid of ESPN. They're making less Star Wars content. They want to get rid of Marvel. So if you're telling me that the best media brand in American history is selling off arguably one of the best sports brands, the best cartoon brand, and the best sci-fi brand, you can't tell me that Spotify is fucking crushing it. It's impossible. And it's a conversation that like we've had before. And I always ask the question, if I was given $1.2 billion to build a podcast division, and the only hit I got out of it was Joe Rogan, and Will Smith did 12 episodes, and Megan and Harry did 15 episodes, and then they just walked off how Rick Ross did on 85 South, what would I be called? And it was just some kind of blunder for Daniel at Spotify. And I don't have any issue with Daniel. I think he's an amazing CEO. But I think the truth is going to be told in maybe a year or two about the majority of these media companies. And I keep saying it. I ask you guys, I ask Charlemagne, I ask Joe, I ask Schultz, how many people are making $1 million more from podcasting or media? Not many. If the numbers were so insane that a talent was drawing in $40 and $50 million a year from that show, it'd be easy to pay them $1 million. The reason why there aren't a lot of people making $1 million plus in the space is because they don't draw that much value. And I think we're seeing it at scale as we are in a recession that they will not announce. The most media properties are not doing as well as we think.
Man, that was well said. That was well said. He's on to something, and he's pretty accurate when I looked at it from a terms of it's like the Jay-Z line, less is more. Mm-hmm. Right. So when we watch Bob Iger speak, if you read it between the lines, he's telling you the same thing. Less is more. So when he's saying like, yes, Pixar, we've missed. Like, if we're going to be honest, we've missed on a bunch of movies. We're going to cut back on making those movies. Right. We had Star Wars and, Lucasfilms put out the Indiana Jones movie. It didn't hit like we thought.
I didn't even know it came out.
It didn't hit like they thought it would. All right, well, we've got to scale back. But I think the Marvel thing is the biggest one because it was like, okay, the movies did so well, and that was leading up to the pandemic. But then they started putting out shows that nobody watched. So we have to cut back. The problem is that, and Disney's one, but I mean, all these streaming services, Netflix, even to a certain extent, they're accumulating debt with no real concrete strategy of how to accumulate more revenue. Mm-hmm. And that's the real issue, right? So like when Iger's talking about, hey, yeah, we have ESPN, but these contracts that we have with these leagues, they cost billions. How are we going to pay for it? How do we keep them and pay for it? And so reading between that is like, now who is the company that is going to partner to purchase ESPN to have those rights? Because I'm sure Disney will want to stay involved in it somehow, right? Because they own ABC and they can broadcast nationally. So who becomes that? Does it become an Apple to say, okay, we'll partner, we'll take the sports division, we'll take ESPN, and we'll figure this out? Or, and this was an interesting one, and I didn't even think of it. What if a company like Fanatics decides that we are now your sports partner? They already have the merchandising,
yes,
but they don't have the network to do TV. But what if you combine both of them? Now it becomes interesting. And so we talked about Michael Rubin all the time. We've watched the net worth of his company grow. We watched it go from $2 billion to $6 billion. Now I think it's valuated at like $28 billion. What if they now decide to partner? Because they already have licensing deals with all the leagues for the merchandising. Now, what if we package the merchandising with the TV rights? That becomes super interesting.
Great. You got a crystal ball. Great minds think alike. When they had that party, the first thing I thought, this looks like the title rollout from 10 years ago. How you get Jay-Z, LeBron, Meek, Lil Baby getting hugs from behind, pause, right? To get all those people in the same room at the same time, you think they was there just to drink Douce? I'm like, damn, this looks like the title rollout, but better. And Jay's already infiltrated and took over sports. Robinson could know you coming with me. He told y'all 10 years ago. Good. Put out the book of Hov and then, okay, what will be best? Find a way for your talent to be on TV that you own or a network that you own all the time. I think it would be the next evolution. So I definitely agree. While everything is in recession, and the other issue, we don't have enough people that want to be consumers when everybody wants to be a star.
Well, I think that also it's a new age of media. I think like who's really watching movies at a fast pace these days? Like people, I know some people still want to watch movies, but the vast majority of people, I'm not. I'm on my phone. I'm not really watching movies. So many movies come out on Netflix that I've never seen, or they come out on these weird streaming services. Like,
Shout out to Tubi.
not even Tubi, but I mean, let's just be honest. Have you ever watched anything on Apple Plus? Shout out to Steph Curry. His documentary just came out. But
Shout out to Steph.
I mean, no, it just is what it is, though.
I watched one interview with Oprah on there.
I've never watched one thing on Apple Plus. I probably watched 2 things on Hulu.
Is Hijack on Apple Plus or no?
But you said you don't consume TV though.
But I'm just saying I don't know anybody. I'm in the loop. Nobody's watching Apple Plus.
People are watching Apple Plus. You don't consume it, but
we're gonna be honest, or we just gonna be
people. I'm gonna tell you that. People,
hey, let's be honest.
No, honestly, now are people? Is it Netflix? No, but people are consuming the content.
Do you know anybody that watches Apple Plus on a regular basis?
You know me.
No,
that's not a fair assessment. I know you. You know me. I've watched content on there.
Everybody is fudging the numbers and streaming.
Exactly.
That's true too.
It's not passing the eye test.
No, both things are true.
Not passing the eye test.
Both things are true.
It's not passing the eye test. And like you said, it costs money to produce these things, these movies, these documentaries, these shows. It costs money to produce this.
1,000%.
It's going on these streaming services that's behind a paywall. At least on YouTube, you can see numbers. They might be inflated, but at least you can see the numbers. Like Revolt. I'm not sure how many people actually watch Revolt on TV, but you can see the numbers on YouTube. Drink Champs, Tony Yayo did 3 million views in 3 days. Like, shout out to Revolt. As Over Liability season 3 comes out next
By the way,
shameless plug. But all I'm saying is that I think it's just a new age of media, and I think low costing content. This is why
with high quality.
With high quality. This is why this is why the podcast scene has really taken off. It's low costing content. It's easy to produce. It's easy to put out, and I think that content has become like music. Before, music meant a lot, and you had an album, and you would sit with that album for 6 months. Now, Gunna comes out with a song, and then Tekashi 6ix9ine comes out with a song with Kodak Black 3 days later. It's just it's so disposable. It's so disposable. That's how content is. Content is like Drake does an interview in bed with the TikTok girl, and then Elliot Wilson, he's going back and forth with Drake the next week. It's just like you gotta. It's so disposable. Like the content, and Dame Dash warned us. Shout out to Dame. When Dame went on the Breakfast Club 10 years ago, and it was very insightful conversation that he had, and that's when he was telling Envy then, like, yo, you don't own this, and then Envy was like, I own a stock in the company. I don't even think the company's publicly traded. I'm not sure he owns stocks.
Not at that time. Yeah.
That was difficult for him to do, but. It was just a difficult thing to pull off at that time. But the thing about it is that you have to read the tea leaves.
This is true.
You have to read the tea leaves.
We agreeing.
And Charlemagne was smart enough to read the tea leaves. He started not only his podcast that he's done, but he starts the Black Effect Podcast Network, right? This makes sense. Because now you go into the lane of where media is headed. So it'll be interesting to see where media plays over the next 10 years. But I just feel like a lot of people's wasting a lot of money. These streaming services, nobody's watching them. And it's not a good business model.
Yeah, so you agreeing with what Bob Iger's saying? He's saying the same exact thing. Less is more. Like, we messed this up. How are we going to fix this? Here's how. We've got to stop doing this. This isn't making any money. We overshot this. Nobody's watching She-Hulk. No disrespect, but nobody's watching it, right? You can put out Daredevil. Nobody's watching it, right? It used to be like, hey, if we create these characters, then they do well in the end game, and then we can give them their own individual series. And that might have worked for 1 or 2. But some of these characters, there's no investment in them, right? Then they put it. It didn't work on the streaming, so they put it on ABC. And you started seeing Agent Shield on ABC. Where did that go? It's going because there's no investment there. So they overdid it. So less is more. You're right.
And then, of course, when you keep...
You ain't watch Agent Shield.
No, absolutely not. This show's terrible. Shout out to everybody who's on the show. But like when you are not having... It's too many suits in the creative business that is not looking to make great creative. And, of course, like you have to judge a business like how can it thrive and an economy when people don't have a surplus of money. In 2018, 2019, 2020, up until March, everyone thought everything was fine. always calibrate to see, okay, great, how well will things do if the market dries up and people don't have as much money? Number two, once again, like Rashad said, the cost for these shows were too damn high. So like you have to everything is a hedge fund business. Like as soon as I saw Pat McAfee get brought over to ESPN, I'm like, I wonder how much the betting will go up because he's a player that can call things on the fly in real time that can make people money. As soon as I saw Romo say, hey, this is the play they're going to run, and people start betting on it, that's the hedge fund business. It's all about risk to reward. Like if I pay $10 for content, can I get $100 out of it? It's really hard to make up a $300 million movie $15 or $7 at a time. It's damn near impossible to do so.
It's Hollywood is a place where there is tremendous amount of waste. It's a bad business model. They waste money. There's too many people with their hands in the pot. They take too long. There's too many gatekeepers. And that's why they're on strike now. Like technology is going to replace jobs. No matter what they try to do with the strike and try to put the language in, you can't erase AI. It's here to stay. So the whole idea of Hollywood is fading away. It's actually it's a bad business model that's dying. And the sooner they realize that, the better off they'll be. They're trying to save the golden age of Hollywood. It's over.
It's done.
It's over.
Lethal Weapon.
Great movie though.
It's old. No, I'm saying that's never gonna happen.
Yeah,
like those are it's
Bad
over.
Boys 2. Like
it's over. Like those blockbuster.
They're trying to do it.
They trying to do it. Like how much money did they spend? Like how much money did they spend on Barbie?
A huge. That budget is crazy.
It's not passing the eye test.
They did 155.
They spent $1 billion.
They ain't spent.
They spent a lot.
They probably spent
a lot. They spent a lot.
And if anybody's looking at Mattel, which owns Barbie, and 20% of the revenue from Mattel comes from Barbie's merchandising, MAT is a stock. Just for you watch this, but continue.
They spent a lot.
They did spend a lot.
I'm not a forensic
we don't know return on investment.
I'm just a common sense person. I think they
want to spend $150 on marketing.
And they made 155 first.
At least 150 on marketing. I think they spent more, but that's not even the actors.
That's just domestic.
That's
just domestic.
I think they're losing money on this. That's my whole point.
We'll see.
I don't know. I'm not 100%.
But even
certain.
if it does well, right? Let's say it does well. There's only been $1 billion movie and we can't even count that. Well, we can count it. There's only been $1 billion movie this year for all the marketing and all these movies. You know what it is?
What's that?
You know?
Black Panther.
That was last year.
What?
Mario Brothers, bro. Mario Brothers is the only $1 billion movie this year. They can't count Avatar because it came out in December. So Mario Brothers is the only one that's done $1 billion. Even if this does, it's not a fair assessment of what the movie situation looks like. Because it's one. It's one out of 4 or 5 movies come out a week. We don't go see any of them. The model is different. Now when they come out, they got 30 days to put it on. But you brought up something with the Pat McAfee thing. Because Disney is losing money, right? ESPN is it's cost them a lot of money. There's a free agent out there that they keep saying is coming to the network.
Oh, baby.
What do you think Shannon Sharp is worth?
The real number?
What do you think the real number, right? Because there's talks, even Stephen A says that, like, he wants to bring him to the show. If Pat McAfee is 5 years, $85 million.
But Stephen A. Smith got like $12 million. So
underpaid.
He's underpaid. Even he's underpaid.
To work 7 days a week, going to Utah,
for real. They got him doing lacrosse games and shit.
That's a fact. He's running around the globe for
I am good.
Yo.
Jesus. Somebody get Stephen A. Smith on the show.
We ain't going back to Salt Lake now, man. It's over. It's gonna be interesting to see. I'm interested in seeing that, especially when you hear the CEO of the company saying that, we're losing money. In fact, we got to figure out how we're going to get this $27 billion to get Hulu, because that's on the ticker before the end of the year. Yep. Then we got to figure out how we're going to pay Fox a $71 million for the Searchlight deal. I mean, like, where are we getting the money?
That's Disney Plus, too much. They got too much going on.
I think they're going to combine Hulu and Disney. That was one of the plans he said.
And I don't know when it will happen, and not to cut you off, but I think
71 billion. I'm sorry, 71 billion, not million.
Jesus. And guess what? Here's a model that I think would be really amazing. Shoot a $15 million movie, bring it to me. I'll give you 60% of the revenue, and we keep 40. And if they incentivize Mr. Beast to do it because he's doing these big ass productions, I think YouTube could end up being one of the biggest movie producers in the next 10 years. They have a better here's their model. I'll pay you after the shit works. Not bad.
Good idea.
It's only a 1% chance of failure. The way that Hollywood has been doing it, any accountant would tell you that is an upside down business model. You're running negative. Like, even if you had a string of, like, now Marvel and The Rock isn't working. I knew the movie industry was in trouble when they started talking bad about the Black Adam flop and wanted to get The Rock out of DC. I said, if he can't make that franchise work and him and Superman are not getting along, it's over with. Here's a novel idea. Build something that people want, monetize it after, or the creators put your own money up and bring it up.
Yeah, there's only a few franchises that work. DC is it's a struggle. That Fast and Furious did all right, but it's just one franchise that they just keep doing over and over and over again. People love it, but just make the product and we'll pay you.
It's like the same thing with corporate is the same thing with government. They're all stupid and they're out of touch, and they're only white men. And it's a small demographic of the society that's making rules for everything, and they're completely out of touch. Write the check for InvestFest. That's a perfect example. I don't know why InvestFest doesn't have $10 million in corporate sponsorships, because they're out of touch of what's going on. You get 20,000 people to come to learn about financial literacy. Where else in the world has that actually ever happened? And we got to kind of go back and forth with pitch decks, and because they are out of touch with reality
meetings.
And it's controlled by a small minority of white men who don't even know what earn your leisure is. This is what music. This is why the music sounds like it sounds. This is why the content is produced how it is. And it's the same thing over and over again. They're wasting money, and they don't know what's happening with culture, society. And they keep just striking out, and they get afforded luxuries to keep striking out, and they get rehired. They get fired from one company, and then they get hired at another company, and it's a whole network of nonsense. And it's been happening forever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
more innovation. Yeah, it's true.
That was power, and he's 100% accurate.
And for anyone who thinks this is just his rant, when I say, hey, we don't have 25 productive companies, or like, why do you guys always talk about Apple and Microsoft? Because Duracell is not a great company. Sorry, like, most of the companies that we love are not even here. Samsung is not an American property. Like, we have so much inefficiency in, like you said, in schooling, bureaucracy, government, corporate, like, come on, like, the bloat is too much, and then it's a slow erosion of our economy as a result. But then the biggest companies could go to other countries that they help build, but won't help build us here. But what do I know? If I made you money, please put yes in chat. Media businesses are in trouble.
Thank you, Charlemagne.
Yes. Mr. Insecure, go make your people. We're gonna have a real conversation, because I was talking to Ish about this last night. I'm tired of a lot of people in media acting like they're a certain way, and if we compare the bank accounts and the net worth and impact, like, how can you make somebody and then you ain't made nobody on your team?
Why don't you make some people some money? Try that.
What? There's no need to hate on anybody if you are doing well. I remember I was in Mexico, and I was talking about an episode of Market Mondays with Corey, and I'm like, why he asking Rashad about XYZ? He's like, yo, he always been temperamental like that, and da-da-da. The insecurity comes from you not delivering on what you're supposed to, and I don't have any issues with you. But when you go to the lens and say that you help make something, when you haven't helped make other people around you, boys, stop.
Okay. Make another hole.
Boys, stop.
Working. Shout out to Dame. He warned us.
Man.
These industry, they always been fishy.
That's why I hate the entertainment thing. Like, the only way to win is to be fake. And then when you start giving an honest take on something, it's like, you arrogant or you difficult to work with. No, you're just an asshole and a sucker. That's all that is. Sorry.
Well, it's a bozo economy. We live in it. But that's the beauty of what we've been able to create, because we didn't have to go through gatekeepers. So nobody ever put us on. To even say that is blasphemous, because we put ourselves on. Like, this was built by the people and hard work and dedication. But other people had to go through the corporate ladder. They had to intern with people, and they had to, snake somebody. They had to give somebody pizza, and they had to, get slapped in their face and do a variety of these weird initiations that have to happen, like they about to join a fraternity or something. But that's what they had to go through. So that's the mentality that they carry with them. But we didn't have to go through any of that, and we never worked for anybody. We never got a corporate check. We never had to wake up and punch a clock. And so it's a different journey. It's a different mindset. But in order to fully appreciate that, you have to go through it. You can't appreciate it if you never went through it. So it's like 19 Key said, a slave could never think like a free man. You don't know it. You've never been free. You can only think like a free man when you've been free. So you could be rich. You could have $100 million and still be a slave. You could be a billionaire and still be a slave. Like, money's not really, that doesn't mean that you've reached any level of, freedom, because you still work for somebody. But, nobody owns us. That's the difference.
Hey, man. If I made you money, please put yes in chat. Complex, I want to do this podcast list, please.
Man, make another hole.
Silly rabbit.
And you lucky your man ain't left you yet. Soon come.
Soon reach. Dead weight. The dead weight. Cut the dead weight.
Hey, man. What do I know?
Surgically.
And it's just so much easier I don't know. It's interesting.
Well,
so what does the second half
let them burn
of the year look like in terms of the stock market? What do we think about the second half, right? We're already into the second half of the year. December will be here in no time. What are our thoughts about the second half of the year?
My favorite takeaway from every book that I've read, whether it's William O'Neill, Tony Robbins, Money Master the Game, Howard Marks, Warren Buffett, is in the end, everything is always going to be okay. I told a story before, but when Trump got elected, I was up trading all night, killed it. And I'm like, but Trump's president now. I called my dad. I was like, what do you think? He was like, run your race, continue to invest long-term, continue to trade, don't change anything. No matter what happens in the market short-term, if you are investing for the long term, it's like a 99.99999% chance that you'll win. And this is the truth. Invest in every asset class. Real estate, crypto, stocks, B2B, business to government, healthcare, commercial real estate. If you hold anything for a 10-year period, you will have success. The second half of the year will be great. The companies that are doing well will continue to do well. The ones that are doing bad will continue to do bad. I know there was a rebalancing in the Nasdaq 100, but the companies, it's like the 80-20 rule, the 95-5 rule. Like 5% of the companies are going to produce 95% of the gains, and 20% of the people that work with you are going to produce 80% of the effort. Like, some of these axioms are so tried and true, but I think when you're on Instagram and on these media properties that are failing in real time, they're trying to get you to feel like everything is the end of the world. Like, take Robert Kiyosaki. Robert Kiyosaki has probably one of the most profitable and known books on investing ever, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you go look at his tweets, you would think that the end of the world is coming as much as he claims that the world is going to end. When? If you look through any period over a 10-year period, I talked about this last year at InvestFest, any decade, if you held for a decade and bought the top two, you were fine.
Robert Kiyosaki, he's weird. Great book. But yeah, he's a bozo.
That's what happened when you choose sensationalism over the truth. But it's true.
It's true.
Part of the bozo economy.
It is what it is. Yeah. Great book.
Shout out there. Now it's a great book.
It's like, okay, the stock market is going to crash, but buy silver coins. From where I'm from, if you're walking around with a bag of silver coins,
that was definitely in 2005 and 6 because we was there, right? Did you go to that conference where he's talking about, yo, you got to buy nickel. You got to buy nickel. It's the next thing. The economy's going to crash.
Them boys from Gary pull that nickel out on you and make you give up all them coins.
Double
Okay, you carry a bag of nickels in a Nike bag if you want to. When they pull out that Under Armour bag with them sticks on them, boy, look at this. You're like, dang, where you get that from? boy got an AR-19. Jesus Christ. Oh, quit being, but everyone wants another sensational hit. I hate to tell you guys this. Most people in media are not as successful and making as much money as you think. Quick question, quiz time for everyone in chat. Who are the top 5 people that run BlackRock and Vanguard? Jeopardy music. Most people don't even know who Larry Fink is. Larry Fink is probably one of the most powerful men in the history of American finance. But they want to talk about Kodak Black and if he is a sellout for getting $2 million from him. Kudos to Wack for setting that up. I'm not in street politics. I get it. But our top 5 conversations should not be over street politics and top 5 lists and not know who these people are who are running our lives. Most people want to be a YouTube star and don't even know who the fucking CEO of YouTube and Google is. How?
Fact.
But what do I know?
What do you know?
Nope.
What do you know? The Bozo economy. I'm getting shirts. I'm getting shirts made. Bozo economy. Man. Let's talk about Tesla, shall we?
Yes.
The company generated nearly $25 billion in sales last quarter. What do you think of the performance of the stock? And since they have been downgraded, do you still believe in the company?
Yeah, I believe in the company. We talked about it before, but them lowering their prices definitely impacted their margins. And while you lowering margins and trying to pull off Hyperloop, SpaceX, changing the Twitter logo, battling with Elon, he has to make some corrective decisions. I think Tesla's still a power player. Will always, like, they have gotten that preeminent position in an EV space to make people want to invest in EV and drive the car. I think he needs to fix the margin issues, but Tesla's going to be fine. Like, it may be a short-term downgrade, but if they find a way to get those margins back up or get the pricing back up, great. They've been delivering on the car sales dramatically. That's great. If he puts his truck out and it's finally produced, that can give an edge. I'm hearing some rumors of like a cyber dirt bike being available for kids. That could be interesting. I think they need like their version of the iPod. They need like a mass hit with good margins to help secure them. But I think I've said it before. If he gets focused and quit focusing on this X app and turning Twitter into WeChat of the United States and just integrated that all in a Tesla, the stock will probably be at 500 or 600. I think he's just spread a little bit too thin. But Tesla's an amazing company.
When we watched the earnings, I believe it was last Wednesday. That was one of those questions, and maybe you can give some insight to it. Did we think? I mean, we saw it the run up into Wednesday with Tesla just going crazy. The earnings came in, the stock went down the next day. You think it was because of the margins, or did people taking profit have a bigger contribution to watching the stock go down a little bit?
I think it's a combination of both. So, like, when the margins are thin, there's no upside. Like, even if the run up on NVIDIA has been a little bit too much and the P ratio is a little bit too wide, the margins are good. So with Tesla, there's no reason for it to push to 300. And I know everyone wants to a lot of times make an issue over pricing, but if you are only netting 9% or 12%, and oftentimes, like, when you have, and we've seen this in the luxury market with LVMH and everything that they have acquired, a lot of times if you put something on sale for a low price, most people aren't coming back to buy that thing or good after they have more money. That's why I think it's a mistake for most people to run their business based off price. And I get flack for it all the time. Like, oh, you charge too much for it. I have somebody up 790% since 2018. I know some hedge funds that have not been up 700% in a decade. So they have to fix the margin issue. And then it'll give it more room to run. But I think investors on the institutional side want to see a more professional CEO. Or if you're going to be erratic, your numbers have to be blockbuster.
Mm.
So he has to pick a side. He got to get out all the videos dancing because Mark Zuckerberg will beat your ass. Well, boy, in shape. When I saw him in the ring with Izzy, you said what?
Nah, finish what you about to say.
Yeah, like when I saw him working out with Izzy, I'm like, he'll give you the beats right now.
Beats by Dre.
Real beats.
For real.
Beats by Dre.
The real beats. Put the pause on them.
I forgot. Shout out to Nas. Dropped his album, and we actually had a pretty dope conversation with him.
Yo, what's going on over there? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I have to put my AR-19 up, my bad.
Yeah, we had a pretty dope conversation with Nas. So shout out to Esco.
Shout out to Jeff.
Talked about economic issues, world economic issues, our community. It was legendary situation.
Yo, they were like, what was it like? I'm like, Nas is talking about the economy. You just stop and you listen.
You listen.
You got paint the picture. Paint the picture. Can you at least paint the picture
For Nas?
of how this happened?
Yeah, relationships. So shout out to Fahim and the whole security. You gotta know security, but we was on stage. We was just chilling. Shout out to Mike B, our stylist.
Shout out Mike.
He was there. Everybody was there. The G Code, that's our guy. Marcus Harvey was there. And then one of Nas's best friends, childhood friends, is crazy because we like 10 feet away. And to the left, his name on Instagram. And I actually followed him on Instagram. This is one of his best friends. And he's been following us for a long time. So he called us over. And it was crazy because when he called us over, Nas was like, yo, he's the one that put me on to y'all. So I want to introduce y'all to him. Like this means a lot. This means a lot to him. So it was dope. And then, from there, we just had a conversation about angel investing, world economics, the black plight, wealth gap.
Yo, in the middle of an album release party
at 2:00 in the morning.
That's fire.
It's like I gotta paint the scene. It's like it's Nas, it's us, and it's his people, and like Jungle's like right next to me, and we're like in a huddle in the middle of an album release party talking about economics.
And then as soon as we left him, we run into Steve Stout.
Shout out Steve.
Shout out to Steve Stout, man. He's talking about InvestFest. This guy's crazy. But shout out to Steve Stout, man.
Yes, shout out to Steve Stout.
Shout out to Stout, man.
The whole team.
And we got introduced to Carlene. You know Carlene?
Oh, yeah.
To buy 2 tickets.
Yeah.
We got introduced to Carlene.
We asked her.
We asked her about it.
It's Cap, right?
No.
We asked her about it.
I said, yo, why you make the boy buy 2 tickets? She was like, nice meeting you guys. But shout out to Carlene. She was dope.
That was funny.
She was super cool. She was super cool. All right. Before we go, we gotta talk a little crypto, shall we? The Federal Reserve official. Shout out to Nas. His album is out. So
yeah, Magic
Hours too.
Magic 2. Real quick. Ian, you spoke on Twitter. I guess we could just touch on that like for half a second. They're rebranding it. They changed the name to X.
Yeah.
And so this is when I read the tweet, or I don't even know what we're gonna call it after this, from the new CEO of Twitter. There was a key word in here that I was like, okay, I see what they're doing with this. They want to turn it into this center the Twitter around audio, video, messaging, payments, and banking. And so I'm thinking about like that. I'm like, wait, okay, the audio, understand, I got that part. The video, messaging, yeah, payments and banking. And so, is this his foray into that world?
He's been open. He wants to make this our version of WeChat, but there's a couple issues. Like, I don't think if he's trusted enough to be able to pull that off in the bank. And once again, you have some big competitors. So, like, yes, he was an advocate of Dogecoin, but is he a better alternative than Bitcoin itself? No. Ethereum itself? No. This is like linear focus matters so much. Maybe if when a whole crypto boom or the second version of it was popping off, if he was more active in that community and then things were being built at that time, there could be a segue. And not saying that it's impossible, but to say like you want 50% of the people in the world finding a way to do banking or business through you. It's going to be damn near impossible. Now, in the grand scheme of things with Tesla, the charging networks, I get what the vision that he's trying to go, but I think he's biting off more than he can potentially chew. Like, it's been hard enough for them to right a lot of wrongs with Twitter. It's going to be hard to be a payment platform and banking and audio and video. And we go through these boom and bust cycles of where like a company will do everything, and then we'll have compression cycles where like a company will do something very like extremely well. I think he just needs to focus for the next 3 or 4 years of getting Tesla to be as efficient as possible, recovering that loss from Twitter, another media company that's falling apart that they pay too much for. And then maybe in the future, he can look at the banking sector. I mean, and on top of that too, like if you're a bank and we're in higher inflationary times, it's really hard to make that business work.
Yeah. So that was and once you said crypto, it made me think of it because I'm thinking on top of it being a banking and payments, he says that he wants to create a global economy, and he looks at X as one of the centerpieces of creating a global economy for goods and services. And so now I'm thinking, is this a foray, or are they working on maybe his own crypto? And that becomes the way that you have global payments. So I was just like, yeah.
The first thing I thought when I saw that was like, Mark Zuckerberg is really kicking your ass.
He's just trying to find something.
Trying to find anything to stay afloat. And the active users, of course, on Threads is going down, but I think they got such a lead that you're trying to find any way to pivot out of that loss. He feels like a fighter that's been backed into a corner and he can't find a way to get out. I think his best move would just be focus on Tesla, Hyperloop, Starlink. Like Twitter was a mistake. Twitter is like when you're in a relationship with a toxic person for too long, you keep trying to find a way to make it work. Like Twitter is like Blueface and Krishan. No matter what you do, or how much counseling Twitter goes through, they'll never be the ideal couple, and neither will Blueface and Krishan. Shout out to them. Like you have to learn when to just take your losses and be like, I messed up. I paid too much for a dying media company.
Let's talk about Federal Reserve, Fednow. Which allows officially launched Fednow, which allows you to send payments in seconds. Is this launch a win for consumers or a loss?
So I'll just add a little more context behind it even before you go. So you can receive funds in seconds, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week through the central bank. So they're saying that they've already partnered with 41 banks, 15 service providers, including, surprise, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of New York Mellon, and U.S. Bank Corp. So those are some of their partners already. What's your thoughts?
I want no issues with the Federal Reserve. See you guys at InvestFest.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
Get your tickets.
So here's the follow-up for that, right? If FedNow is effective and we can get payments in seconds, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, what does that do for the existing payment processing companies, PayPal, Venmo, Block?
I don't want any issues with the Federal Reserve. See you guys at InvestFest. I think the other payment providers are in trouble. That's why I keep saying the biggest players on earth are going to find a way to get into your bit. Like who? Okay, imagine if I bought you a business plan and a year later I'm like, we got an issue. Like, what's the issue? The Federal Reserve is our competition.
Good luck.
Jesus Christ. What do? Nothing. That's a pressure that you don't want. So, always going back to that margins thing and seeing what competitive advantages are. It's tough. That's why, like Elon, of course, being in PayPal, he had this X.com idea back in '99. They didn't approve it. So this has been like a project he's wanted to do forever. I think it's the wrong business to be in. Anytime you're a competitor with the banks, it's not a business I want to be in. That game is not fair. It's not fair. You think the war in Chirac was something. We get into these banking wars and Federal Reserve wars. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. They're going to take a lead.
We'll see. We will see.
I shall not be a martyr.
We don't want no problems
at all.
But another episode of Market Mondays in the books. Another one. Get your tickets to Market Mondays live in Ghana.
Yes.
Chicago, we coming. We're going to be announcing information on that extremely soon. And of course, get your tickets to InvestFest. Every single person in the world will be there that you can think of. So why would you not be there? That's the question.
Yes.
Yeah, we got a lot planned. It's going to be a great end of the year. We're going to Toronto. It's a lot of good things that's happening these days.
Want to go? Spreading the word.
Just stay focused. And my only piece of advice for all entrepreneurs, all business owners, is to stay focused, run your plan, don't deviate, because the frustration comes when you stop running your plan and you see other people take pole position from you, Mr. Insecure.
Mr. Insecure.
14 episodes, 25 episodes of podcast, and you stop. Why? 85 South put out a lot of content. We put out a lot of content. Trap put out a lot of content. Button put out a lot of content. Schultz put out a lot of content. Why you stop at 15, 16, 17, 18? Gilling and Wallow put out a lot. You're either going to pay the pain of discipline or pain of regret. Ross put out a lot of content. Donkey.
Shout out to Rose, man. Shout out to my brother. Shout out to Rose.
Yo, this guy's crazy.
Motherfuckers be like, yo, I made you. My dad don't even say I made you, and he literally made me.
What? The internet is a crazy place, man. The internet's a crazy place. Crazy place.
And you know people that are secure? Rich Paul, Steve Stout, Steve Harvey.
The crazy thing is people
never had these issues.
Sometimes you think that you have control over a situation and you try to block something, and that's happened before. Like people try to block different things for us, but when the crazy thing is, the joke's on you when you realize you don't have enough power to block something because you don't own the company. So you thinking in your mind like, yo, I'm a boss. I can stop something from happening. No, you really don't.
So you talk to the CEO of the company.
You don't even know what you're talking about. That's the crazy thing about it. Like you're not even in a position to even do anything because you're an employee of a company. Think about it. You don't even know the inner workings of contracts and what's behind the scenes, different things that is not negotiable. It has to happen.
Do what you're told. What you saying?
I mean, it's not even the thing of do what you're told, but it's happening. And if you don't want to be a part of it, then you could probably sit something out, but it's out of your control.
And that's what I hate about the industry. Don't be like all cool in a person's face, but behind the scenes, like not like if you don't like somebody, but this is how to meet. For those of you who want to get entertainment, the only way to really win is like be exceptionally talented or exceptionally fake. It's a lot of fake shit out there. But then you go and find out, you look in their bank account, the money's not there. It's a smoke. You want to talk about Ponzi? Most of the entertainment industry is smoke and mirrors, Ponzi bullshit. Those are my thoughts, my reflections. Ian Soley of Red Panda Rebellion.
Try to give me 50. Man.
But I don't see no hedge fund managers leaving and wanting to do media. I know a bunch of people in media. Charlie Munger would never be going through some of the shit you're going through right now. If I made you money, please put yes in chat. Not many people can say that. Mr. Insecure.
Got a new character on the show.
Oh, man.
These are just jokes. Shout out to Schultz. Shout out to 85 South. For those of you who want to get into entertainment, please don't. Pick another profession. There's way more money there. Like any industry that there's not a clear path on how to get in, there's a lot of bullshit and manipulation and not a lot of money in it. I'm telling you firsthand. I keep asking every show, how many people make $1 million from podcasts and nobody wants it? Then what y'all think is in other fields? It's not that much money. If you want to learn how to make money, please come to Market Mondays in Ghana or get your tickets to InvestFest. There will be billionaires there telling you how to do so.
Fact. That's a fact, ladies and gentlemen. Been real. Check out Rotimi. Dope episode. Dope episode coming out tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And love is love, man.
Your love is love, man. Reach out to your people. Again, condolences to Gilly and his family. While the whole team over there, $1 million with the game. Love is love. And I just saw Jasmine Sullivan lost her mom today as well. Reach out to your people, man. Reach out to your people. Just tap in to see how they're doing. One text, one phone call, man. That's all it takes. And it ain't gonna take much of your time. Just let them know that you're thinking of them, man. It can mean the world to somebody. Just to let you know that that you're thinking of them at that moment. So love is love. Be good to each other. Love on each other. And we'll see y'all next week. Peace.